Good morning everyone and welcome to a good old Shop My Stash video. Now today's Shop My Stash video is kind of inspired by the recent events that have transpired with Makeup Geek. Most of you probably have heard by now that after 10 years on the market, almost 10 years on the market, Makeup Geek is closing down. And I wanted to make this little video as a tribute to that and just go down memory lane a little bit. In order to not waste time, because I pretty much always use the same base products for my makeup. I've already done my base makeup, so we're just going to do the rest of my makeup together and chat about Makeup Geek, use the products that I still have from them in my collection. Now before we jump into that though, I would like to demo for you. You can see I'm not wearing any earrings and there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that I wanted to demo for you some pairs of earrings that I just received from Ana Jewelry. Ana Jewelry is a brand that I have collaborated with many times in the past, and I absolutely love their products. And if there's no better way for me to show that, just go back to all of my videos in the past 1.5 years and you will see that I wear nothing but their jewelry. They are a New York-based sustainable brand, very transparent about their working policies, and I have a lot of respect for their goal to be environmentally friendly and the fact that they are so extremely transparent about where the jewelry is made, who is it made by, what the working conditions are. And if you want to know more about that, just go and visit their website. They're currently running a 20% off sale, so if there is a moment to go and get some of their jewelry to try out, probably now is a really good one. I have two pairs of their earrings to share with you, which are in a very similar style. I will try to have all the names of the products somewhere on the screen, so that if you would like to go back and search for them on the website, that's easier for you. So these are more of their statement earrings, and they have this gorgeous like pattern on the back and the front, which is like a checkered yellow and like a light beige. And the other pair that I got from them are pretty much the same idea, but then instead of the yellow and beige checkered pattern, you have this like flowy pattern. I don't really know how to call that. And you have a bunch of colors intertwined. Actually, I'm just looking at it now because I'm trying to appreciate all the colors, but I see a little bit of orange, a little bit of pink, even a little bit of yellow, and they're just so flipping gorgeous. And basically both of these are going to be absolute perfection now that the summer is coming, because I tend to really enjoy wearing more statement earrings in the summer. And if there's two colors that have a very good representation in my wardrobe for the summer, it is yellow and orange. So without further ado, let's try the yellow pair of earrings. Oh my gosh, I love yellow so much, I'm going to wear the crap out of these. I also have my second piercing here, which is also earring from Ana Luisa. My second piercing has been a little bit irritated the last week or so, because a couple of weeks ago I decided that it's been 4 months and I just want to like switch my second piercing on almost daily basis, and I think that was a bit of a mistake. And I also don't like to sleep with my earrings, which makes things even more complicated, because it means I really have to like put something in and out every day, and I think maybe it was a little bit too early for a move like that. So now I think I'm just going to leave this one in, because it's very small, it's very subtle, and I can sleep with it pretty okay. But the yellow earrings, so they have the pattern on both sides, and they're just so incredibly cute. They have a really like good weight to them. And what I really enjoy about this style of earrings is that while they are statement earrings, they're also not too in your face. Some of my other like summer type of earrings are statement earrings. Now this is a statement earring. This really, you know, makes an impact when you look at me. These on the other hand have that fun detail of, you know, the bright yellow color, but at the same time they're a little bit more understated, and I really love that. And these are the orangey earrings. I actually know the name of these because I still have the card. These are called the Hana Liquid Orange. I adore the yellow color, but I do think that the orange ones fit much better with my clothing today, so I am going to keep these on for the rest of the day. And the last piece from Ana Luisa that I wanted to share with you is this incredibly cool ring, which is called the Alex ring. Look at that! Isn't that so cute? I think this is how you're supposed to wear this ring. This looks so elegant, doesn't it? And now let's jump into the makeup. The first product that I'm going to use will not be from Makeup Geek. I'm going to use a bronzer from a different brand. This is the Milk Makeup bronzer in the shade Baked. The reason for that is that I do no longer have my Makeup Geek bronzer. I panned that a really long time ago. I bought that bronzer when it was released, I want to say in 2017 or something, and I loved it and I used it so much that it was actually in a project pan some time ago, and I basically used up about 80% of that powder, and when I had just powder like left on the edges, I got too irritated trying to get the product out, and I felt like I've made enough use of that bronzer to let go of it. So, Makeup Geek. Depending on when you got into makeup, Makeup Geek clothing will be a very bittersweet experience for you. I personally have been around pretty much since the start because you may not know this, or you may know this because I've mentioned it before, but the reason that I discovered even beauty YouTube was Marlena. Back in the beginning of 2013, I was preparing for my wedding, and I basically wanted to do the makeup myself because I enjoy doing my makeup and because I really didn't want to pay so much money to let someone else do it. So, you know, I basically started searching for tutorials on how to do your wedding makeup, and I'm not sure, I don't know about you, but like back in 2013, I don't know that YouTube itself was even such a big deal, or it was not such a big deal in my life. I've maybe never had any interest in topics that were discussed on YouTube, but for whatever reason, just discovering Marlena was not just beauty YouTube, but like YouTube itself. And you know, I came across some of her videos. By the way, now I'm going to grab my only remaining blush from Makeup Geek. This is one that I have depotted in different packaging because I really love the packaging from this limited edition blush from MAC that I bought a really long time ago. I hated the actual blush, but I adore the packaging. This is the Toledo collection. So I depotted my Makeup Geek blush in the shade Romance in here. And Romance at the time was meant to be a dupe for NARS Orgasm. So it's that classic peachy pink with a golden sheen. It is a really beautiful blush. I've had other blushes from Makeup Geek. I actually panned, like entirely panned a blush from them back in like 2014, 2015. It was a beautiful apricot shade that I basically used to use on the daily until it was completely gone. And then I ordered a backup of that blush. And I basically never touched that backup because I got distracted by other blushes from other brands. And I also had another color from them that I can't remember the name of now. It was more like a nudie pink shade. Also beautiful. I also used the crap out of that blush. I decluttered it very recently because I just felt like it was not my vibe anymore, and I was kind of tired of using it, and I knew that I was never going to actually pan it. So like I said, back in 2013 I discovered Makeup Geek and Marlena, and I followed her channel because she had such a inspirational and cheerful, upbeat vibe to her. I don't know how to explain it, and I think unless you've been around beauty YouTube in those years, you will find it very difficult to understand what beauty YouTube was in 2013, 2014 and the years prior to that. It was a place where people didn't go to get famous and become influencers and earn a bunch of money. They were there genuinely sharing their passion for makeup, and that is what I loved about Marlena. I do also still have one of the Makeup Geek highlighters in my collection. This is the shade Psychedelic, which is one of their duochrome highlighters. It shifts in like a sort of like a copper red duochrome, and it has actually a very pleasant texture to it, very lightweight. It's still a super nice formula. It sits very nicely on the skin, and I'm not sure you can see what a dent I have in this highlighter, because when I bought it, and I think I have had this highlighter since the summer of 2017, because I associate it a little bit with the year that we moved into this house, and that was the summer of 2017. I want to say for the whole summer of 2017 I didn't use another highlighter, or if I did, it was very rare. It was one of my absolute favorite highlighters, and I still really like it, and that is the reason that I have kept it in my collection. I love the duochrome shift on it, I like the texture, and I will probably keep this highlighter until it literally goes off. So Marlena's channel was called Makeup Geek at the time, and she really was the ultimate, you know, geeky makeup girl. She just knew basically everything about MAC, basically everything there was to know about makeup at the time. And she just talked about everything with such enthusiasm that you would finish watching a video from hers and you would be running to a website which sells these products because you want to buy them. And I don't know, she made me fall in love with beauty YouTube. She was also the reason that I felt confident to do my own makeup for my wedding, and of course my skills were at a very different level back then. I was honestly just beginning, and also the makeup industry was at a very different place back in 2013, especially like in Europe. You could hardly find anything, hardly. There was the drugstore and the ultimate luxury and nothing in between. Okay, let's jump into the eye look. I have this Z palette here with single eyeshadows that used to be filled with Makeup Geek singles. Now only these first two rows are Makeup Geek singles, and the rest over here, actually this one also, this one is not Makeup Geek. Starting from here, these two rows are a mix of Color Drain and Divina Cosmetics, but these two first rows are still some of my original Makeup Geek eyeshadows, as well as three of her foiled eyeshadows, and those are this shade, and this shade. And what I want to do today is basically a bit more of a neutral eye look using this shade, because I haven't used this shade in a really long time and it is such a beautiful neutral shade. I want to say this is the shade Grandstand. Yeah, it's called Grandstand. I'm going to start the look off by applying this shade, which I want to say is called Frappe. Yeah, it's called Frappe, and you can see what a huge pan I have in this eyeshadow. It was one of my most used Makeup Geek eyeshadows. Then I'm going to slightly deepen up the crease with this one, which I want to say is Cocoa Bear. We don't talk about Cocoa Bear anymore because it's a reference to her ex who apparently cheated on her. Really sad. And I'm going to apply this eyeshadow, deep brown shade with like sort of red sparkles in it, the shade Bada Bing, a little bit as like a winged out shape eyeliner, as I usually do. And then on my lid I'm going to apply this shade Grandstand. And finally I'm going to apply this shade. It's one of the cult classics from Makeup Geek, is the shade Shimmer Shimmer. I have an absolutely ginormous not pan really, but like a huge dent in this eyeshadow as well, because I've used the crap out of it too. So while I do my eye makeup, we can chat a little bit about the actual beginning of the brand Makeup Geek. So like I said, back in 2013 or so, when I discovered Marlena was constantly talking about MAC eyeshadows, like MAC single eyeshadows, and she would always say how they're super expensive. And that basically served as the biggest inspiration, I want to say, for the creation of her brand. She wanted to offer eyeshadows at the same quality as MAC, if not better, but at a much more affordable price point. By the way, can you see how beautifully this blended out? And this eyeshadow is almost a decade old at this point, because I bought my Makeup Geek eyeshadows almost at the beginning of the brand. So she released her brand, I want to say 2014, early 2014, and her singles were about half the price of MAC singles, which was just unheard of. And a lot of the colors in there were also like straight up dupes or colors that existed also in the MAC eyeshadow lineup. Now I'm going to take a somewhat smaller, more detailed crease brush, and I'm going to go into the shade Cocoa Bear to apply that a little bit more through my crease and outer corner here, just to deepen up a little bit. And everyone went bonkers for these eyeshadows. Everyone couldn't stop talking about them, and I think also one of the reasons was because, as a smart businesswoman, Marlena knew what the power of influencers was at the time. So a lot of the big names like Jaclyn Hill, Nikki Tutorials, everyone was talking about Makeup Geek eyeshadows. I'm grabbing a little bit more of that first shade, the shade Frappe, just to create a bit more of a gradient. So around 2014, Makeup Geek basically exploded. And at the time, I didn't really have a job. I was finishing my PhD basically on my own savings. And of course, at the time, there were no retailers or anything selling Makeup Geek products across the pond. So everything I would buy from Makeup Geek would have to also be subject to customs and taxes. And you have no idea how much I thought about it and how much I agonized. And in the end, I just like pulled the trigger and basically bought this Z palette, which was filled with Makeup Geek eyeshadows. And I can't remember the name of this palette anymore, the ultimate whatever ever, I don't know. but it was a selection made by Marlena with some of the best Makeup Geek eyeshadows, or like a color story that would like cover basically all of your bases. There were golds, neutrals, browns, greens, blues, you know, it just covered everything. It was I don't think it contained all of the eyeshadows that were in the Makeup Geek lineup, but it contained like a really good variety of them, and it cost about $150 without the taxes. With the added taxes for me, it came up to about $200. You have no idea what an investment that was for me at the time, but I was just so keen on trying her formula, supporting her brand, and you know, just getting in on the Makeup Geek craze, that I decided to purchase these eyeshadows. And I used them so much. For like a whole year or two, they were probably the best eyeshadows that I had in my collection. And after that, I slowly discovered like loose indie eyeshadows from indie brands, and you know, I transitioned more into that world. But for a really long time, this palette of eyeshadows was the only thing I would put on my eyes, which is why a lot of these eyeshadows have like serious dents into them. And I think Marlena was smart enough, you know, to exploit her momentum. So aside from the eyeshadows, she released the blushes and then the highlighters and the bronzers, and ultimately she also released that lineup of foiled eyeshadows. And when the foiled eyeshadows came out, you know, people were craving high impact metallic shine eyeshadow, so she was really on trend, she was really on time. And after that, I don't know what happened, something happened, and Marlena's brand basically forgot what it's like to keep up with the trends and just like fell behind. They just didn't know how to keep up anymore with the rest of the makeup community, or maybe the makeup community exploded a little bit too fast, or I don't really know what happened there. Maybe Marlena will choose to someday tell us what exactly happened behind closed doors. I know that there was a failed collaboration with Jaclyn Hill, which was very detrimental to Makeup Geek. Marlena has spoken about it. But overall, I feel like the you know, the failure of Makeup Geek to thrive as a brand should not only be blamed on influencers or this or that. I think they just didn't keep up with the times, and I understand. The makeup world has exploded in the last couple of years. We went from the naked palette from Urban Decay to the explosion of brands and varieties of products that you can get on the market now, and Makeup Geek just for whatever reason didn't keep up. I don't know whether Marlena got distracted, or she lacked inspiration, or she lacked the vision of where to go, although in the beginning of the brand she absolutely did. So I don't think it's Marlena, I just don't know what happened there. I'm grabbing my NYX glitter glue now, by the way. And then I want to say around 2018, 2019 is the time when people just weren't excited about Makeup Geek anymore. Nobody was talking about their products. People kind of like moved on. And then in 2020, they had that very feeble attempt at rebranding, which for whatever reason meant basically switching up their circle pans to square pans. And I'm sure that there were, you know, launches lined up that never happened because of COVID. I did watch Marlena's video where she announces the closure of Makeup Geek, and she quickly said that the pandemic has really hit them very hard. I'm sure the pandemic hit them hard, but at the same time I feel like yeah, it's not really just the pandemic. People were not excited about Makeup Geek way before the pandemic. So for whatever reason, Makeup Geek just kind of lost their, you know, momentum, and they became forgotten. So overall, although I'm really sad and I feel like, you know, Makeup Geek closing is kind of the end of an era, I also totally saw it coming. It was not something that I am really shocked by. It's not like, oh my gosh, Makeup Geek is closing, I did not see this coming. If you would ask me to make predictions about, you know, brands that might not survive it in the next 5 years, I would probably have put Makeup Geek on that list already 2 years ago. Still a beautiful eyeshadow, but that's the thing, you know, this is a pretty eyeshadow, the shade Grandstand. It's very elegant, it's very pretty, it has a nice shine to it. But if you consider all the high shine metallic eyeshadows that are available on the market nowadays, this just doesn't have the same, you know, ring to it. I mean, these are solid eyeshadows, and if you are looking for solid eyeshadows that are going to cover your bases, these are still beautiful eyeshadows, good quality, very good price. but if you are looking for eyeshadows which come in those newer, more, you know, impactful formulas, and I'm not even talking about Pat McGrath, I'm talking about just indie eyeshadows, for example, then Makeup Geek is not going to give you that. So my personal, you know, journey with Makeup Geek ended in, I want to say 2017, when I purchased the bronzer. I think past that point I haven't purchased anything from Makeup Geek anymore. It was a bit sad, but you know, at the same time I'm spending my own money, and I'm not going to spend my money on something that I'm not excited about just to support someone. I've always really liked Marlena, and I've always really rooted for her, but you know, I felt like her brand was falling behind and I was moving forward with the times. So unfortunately, you know, my personal journey with Makeup Geek ended already several years ago, and I just never became excited about their releases. Even now, if they told me that they were going to release new spectacular duochromes and metallic shades and foil shades and whatever, I still wouldn't be excited about it because I've just moved on from the brand. But none of this should prevent us from having appreciation for how well these eyeshadows perform almost a decade after I have gotten them, because I bought these in late 2013, or I want to say she launched in 2014, so I bought them in 2014, so they are about 8 years old. And as you know, people nowadays think something that was released 2 weeks ago is old news and it has already expired, it needs to be decluttered. These eyeshadows are perfect 8 years later. They are soft, they blend out, they're pigmented, just beautiful. Now I do want to make this look a little bit more interesting though, and something that is a little bit more fitting to my current personal preferences in makeup. So I'm going to take my Voyeuristic Vixen Quad from Pat McGrath Labs, and I'm going to apply a few flakes of Rose Fire Nectar over top of Grandstand, also because I wanted to match with the vibe of my look that I'm going for today, which is neutral with a hint of like peachy copper red, and also it will match the highlighter really well. So I'm just going to apply this over top of Grandstand here. So I'm curious what your personal story is with Makeup Geek, and are you sad that they're closing doors? Are you buying something because they have everything on clearance now, so you can go and purchase their eyeshadows for quite the fraction of the price? Now, I believe Makeup Geek did release lipsticks at one point. I have never purchased any sort of lip products from them, which is why to close off this Shop My Stash video, I am going to be going back into one of my favorite lipsticks of all time, which is the shade Ribbon from Lisa Eldridge. I just woke up really feeling like wearing ribbon today. So there you have it, a classic neutral with a red lip to sort of say farewell to Makeup Geek. It was a good run. I think we can all appreciate and have respect, a lot of respect, for what Marlena has achieved, coming from being, you know, being a piano teacher who just really enjoys makeup, to being someone who was listed as one of the newcomer stars on Forbes magazine. I believe a couple of years ago she was in the Forbes magazine, one of their like listings for most successful entrepreneurs of the year or something. So we can say goodbye to Makeup Geek with a little bit of like that bittersweet feeling of like, oh, I'm really going to, you know, miss having Makeup Geek around, but at the same time it was time to say goodbye. Alright, I hope that you enjoyed this look. Do let me know what your thoughts are on Makeup Geek, the closing of Makeup Geek, how does it make you feel? And also don't forget to check out Ana Luisa's sale. Like I said, I'm going to leave a link to their website in the description box below. As usual, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!